Are you stressed out at even the thought of preparing to buy a home in 2025? Well, I'm here to talk to you about the who, what, when, where, why, and how about how to prepare to buy a home so that you don't just stay mentally healthy, you can be confident as well. My name is Chris, your friend, here to help you walk through the steps to help you prepare with clarity and confidence as you try to buy a home in 2025. And as we do this, I'm going to try to frame it in a way that helps you understand it maybe in comparison to something that you've already done. And I'm going to use planning for a vacation. So hopefully everybody's had some sort of experience planning for a vacation, and that will maybe give us some connection points to be able to learn what it looks like to actually prepare to buy a home, maybe something that you've even never done. So let me grab my whiteboard first. All right, like I said, I'm going to try to compare the process of buying a new home to the process of planning for a vacation with the hopes that maybe planning a vacation is something that you've done before, with the hopes that hopefully buying a home then will feel less cumbersome. And so as we talk through the who, what, when, where, why, and how, I'm going to kind of go back and forth and compare those two things. So the first question that I want to talk through with any other big project that you ever do in your whole life is probably starting with the question why. Why are you doing this in the first place? And I'm going to assume that by the reality that you're clicking and watching this video, that you've probably already been asking this question and wondering, why am I doing this? You know, if you're going on vacation, it could be, well, I need to get out of town because I got to get out of here. I got to get away from my work. I got to get away from friends, family, whatever. I need to go be isolated somewhere. Buying a new home is probably the same thing. I need to get out of town. I need to want to live on the edge of town. Maybe you're single and you're living in an apartment and you're tired of renting, and so you want to maybe look at buying a new home and seeing what that looks like. All of those questions are good ones, and ultimately they're going to be things that you need to answer and I can't really help with. But that does lead us to the next question of when. So timing. When makes sense to move? Or when makes sense to go on vacation? So going on vacation, the when is probably I need to get out of here yesterday. Like, I'm done with it. I need to get away from my family, my friends, my pets, whatever it is, your problems. It was probably yesterday. And in a lot of ways, buying a home, the wisdom in the real estate market is often the same. You know, when is a good time to buy a home? Probably yesterday. I mean, if you extrapolate that out to history, when was a good time to buy a home? Well, 40 years ago was a good time to buy a home, because then your home would be probably 4 times more valuable now as it was back then. And so a lot of people talk about trying to time the market and trying to figure out when rates are low or whenever that might be. And reality is the best time to move is probably when your finances are in order and maybe you've cleared out some debt, you have a room in your budget for a home payment that's not going to make you feel overwhelmed. Really, then that is the time to be moving. Your home is going to grow in value over time, and trying to time the market when rates are low, especially in 2025, who knows what's going to happen. And so buying the home now and refinancing later or whatever you want to do is probably a reality that's going to happen. And so when, it's really when you're ready, when your budget and finances are in order. So the next question we're going to ask is who? And you probably already know the answer to this one when it comes to just who's going to be with you. If you're going on vacation, that's obvious. I mean, you're going by yourself because you got to get out of here, get away from work, whatever. Or maybe it's a girls' trip or boys' trip, or maybe you're going with a family. Maybe you're taking the kids to Disneyland, whatever. You know the answers to that question. Same with a home. I mean, who's going to be living with you? You probably already know that. But the question I want to ask is, who do you need to involve in the process? In my opinion, you definitely need to involve a mortgage banker, somebody who can look at the numbers, who can sit down with you, figure out what's going to work, what's not going to work, give you realistic expectations about what this new monthly payment, what the budget concerns are going to be, and not only your mortgage payment, but also talk through some of the utilities, other extra things that you're going to have to think about that maybe you've never had to think about before because you've never owned a home before. So the who, to me, is going to be inviting a professional into the conversation. Just like going on vacation, I wouldn't go somewhere, I wouldn't fly to Europe and go somewhere and never talk to a professional who's never been there before. I'm going to ask questions and try to get a little bit of lay of the landscape of what I'm going to see and do and how I'm going to operate there before I go. And same thing. there's people there that for free can sit down with you and walk through the process and give you realistic expectations about what it's going to be. And that leads us to our next question about where. Where are you going to go? Really the time to start dreaming about the future, about what you want to be doing. So on vacation, obviously that's going to be a time where you figure out if you're going to go somewhere hot and lay on the beach, or if you're going to go north and go find some mountains and sit by the snow and a lake or something like that. Same with a new home. You're starting to think about where do I want to go? What part of town? Maybe if I'm going to a new city I've never been to. And so maybe I need to start thinking about what's close to my work, what's close to my kids' daycare, what is close to easy access to shopping centers or my favorite restaurant. All of those kind of things are questions about where. And also if you're in a city like mine, my city overlaps over a county line. And so I often am talking to people who are new to this about the fact that property taxes are going to be a little bit more in one county compared to the other, even though they're both part of the same city. And so talking to somebody that knows and has been there is going to be able to help you with those kind of things that maybe it is a big deal. Maybe your monthly payment is exactly what you need it to be and you don't want it to be anymore. Well, then maybe that would lead you to kind of shopping or looking at homes in a certain area of town to try to keep your monthly payment where you want it to be. The next question we're going to talk about is how. How do I get the thing that I want? When it comes to vacation, I think about the time I took the first big trip that I'd ever taken on my own. My wife and I had just gotten married. We were going on our honeymoon, and we were flying from the Midwest all the way up to New York. And so there was plenty of steps along the way to actually get there that I had no idea how to do. And so how do you go through an airport? That's very complicated if you've never done it before. Getting on from one plane to another pit stop along the way, getting off that plane onto a new plane, getting on that plane and getting on the next one, and then flying. And then we had to take an airport tram over to a train. And then we took a train from the airport into the middle of the city. And then we finally took a cab from the airport or from the drop off at the train station to our hotel. And so it literally was like a planes, trains, and automobiles movie getting us from one place to the other. We had never done it before, and it was a little bit of scariness to it, and it was a vacation. But maybe you don't want to do that for your home. And so there's a lot of steps involved, and asking somebody, sitting down with a mortgage banker, somebody that can look at the finances and walk through those things can help make that a lot easier. You know, you could be sitting at your home, sitting on the couch at home at night on Zillow or whatever listing site, and you find the home that you want. Well, now what? Do you go knock on the door? Do you go talk to your friend? Do you go start talking to your parents? Who knows? So talking to a mortgage banker can help figure out what does it look like to apply? What's involved in that? What do I have to give over of mine to help make sure that that happens? How do I get a pre-qualification letter? How do I get lined up with a real estate agent to help me figure out how to write a contract? Those are all big hows in how to get a home, and you're never going to know that unless you talk to somebody who's been there before. And so the last question we're going to talk about is what. And for the what, I'm going to ask it this way. What do I need to bring with me? So if you're going on vacation, obviously all of these questions up above are going to help you figure out the what on that. If you're going to the beach, well then you just need to bring a swimsuit and some sunglasses and some sunscreen, and that's about it. If you're going to the mountains, you need to maybe bring some boots and a flannel or whatever. But if you're buying a new home, what do I need to bring with me? There's a lot of different things that you could have to bring with you. And again, asking all of these questions ahead of time will help you understand what you need to bring. Are you fresh out of college and you're just buying your first home? Well, then maybe you might have to bring your school transcripts and some W-2s. Or do you own your own business? Well, in that case, maybe you need to bring your taxes. So there's plenty of different things that you could potentially need to bring with you, depending on what the loan and what the financing all looks like. Do you need down payment assistance? That's all going to require some other things. And so talking to somebody ahead of time, even in the early stages, is a free thing. A conversation doesn't harm anything, and honestly, it just equips you for the future, and hopefully will bring that stress level down, keep your mental health at a good level, and then also just bring some clarity for what the process looks like. And ultimately, you're either going to be really excited about the future because you're going to realize that this is maybe more doable than you thought, or it might be the other way where it's like, you know what, right now, I need to do some other things right now. I need to get rid of some debt. I need to just wait. Maybe next year I'll take a look at it again. But either way, asking these questions will help figure out what your plan is, and hopefully If it means getting a home in 2025, you'll be much more prepared for that. Once again, my name is Chris, your friend, hopefully here to help you ask the right questions, not necessarily have all the answers all the time, but ask the right questions to help give you a little bit more confidence in the home buying process. If you found this video helpful, there's more to come. Please subscribe.